So if you own the Polybrute 12 or the Polybrute 6 and you want to get to know that keyboard a little bit better and you need help understanding the concepts, this is going to be a perfect video series for you to follow. If you don't own a Polybrute, but you own another analog keyboard, this may still be a good series for you to follow because a lot of the concepts across analog synths will be the same. Today we're going to be starting a brand new series covering this keyboard. I have owned one of the Moog keyboards for a very short time. I didn't really dig much into it. I wasn't really feeling it, so I got rid of it. But this is, I guess I would say this is the first official fully analog synth that I've ever owned. And I don't really know a whole lot about analog synthesis, not near as much as the Rumpler keyboards that you guys have seen me talk about before, like the Phantoms, the Chronos, the Motifs, the Montage, stuff like that. But this is a completely different landscape here. I mean, there are concepts that kind of flow from one to the other because all those Rumpler keyboards, they do have synth engines in them. They aren't fully analog, so that would be the difference. So while the flow of the audio, how it starts in an oscillator and ends at an output, that part is similar. And how the makeup of the sounds, how they go through a filter, how they go through a mixer, how they go through an envelope, all that stuff is the same, but this is a fully analog keyboard. What I wanted to do is I wanted to start a series where I kind of go through the manual and learn the keyboard, and as I learn and experience things, I make videos and share them with you guys. So if you own the Polybrute 12 or the Polybrute 6 and you want to get to know that keyboard a little bit better and you need help understanding the concepts, this is going to be a perfect video series for you to follow. If you don't own a Polybrute, but you own another analog keyboard, this may still be a good series for you to follow because a lot of the concepts across analog synths will be the same. Maybe the workflow or the layout of the keyboard might be different, but the concepts you'll probably be able to share between this keyboard and that keyboard. So if that's something that you're interested in, hey, let's get going. I hope you guys are excited just like me. Let's go. Okay, so today we're going to start on this side of the keyboard right here in the VCO section. This keyboard is arranged very neatly from left to right, all the way from the VCOs through the mixer, the filter, the envelopes, the LFOs, the mod matrix, the effects section, the ARP section, and then the master output section here. That is the flow, that is the signal flow of the audio through the keyboard. We're going to start right here with the VCO section and the mixer section. We're going to talk about that a little bit in this video. All right, so the VCO section, that stands for voltage controlled oscillator. And if you're familiar with a Rumpler keyboard, this would be like the oscillator section where you would load your sample, the pre-recorded sample, then you would modify and change it and shape it into what you want it to be before it hits the master output. Well, this voltage controlled oscillator essentially is the same concept, but instead of us loading samples, the keyboard is generating waveforms all the time based on voltage, okay? So this section here of the keyboard, it's got 6 knobs, okay? VCO 1, we have 2 VCOs. This keyboard has 2 VCOs. This is the first one. This is the second one. It has a noise generator, and these are the mixers where you mix the 2 VCOs together along with the noise generator, okay? So within the VCO 1, we have the tune section. Now what I'm gonna do to start off, I'm going to initialize this patch. You can do this 2 different ways. You can hold this left button right here, the program button left, and you're gonna push preset. And what that does is it initializes every setting in the keyboard and gives you a blank slate to start with. All right, you can do that way, or you could also push the settings button, and then you're gonna go to 4 preset, it's on the screen, and then you're gonna push number 1 init to initialize. So if you were on a real sound, and you wanted to initialize, you just push program left and preset, and it initializes it, or you can do it the other way. Okay, so now we have a blank slate completely, I'm going to go in the mixer section. I'm going to turn both of the mixers all the way down. So we shouldn't hear anything. I'm going to turn the noise generator. So when I press the keys now, we don't hear any sound at all because there's nothing being sent to the output. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to deal first with just VCO1. So I'm going to turn the mixer volume up about halfway. And so this is what you should hear. All right, so within the VCO1, we have our tuning section, and this is where you can do just what it says. You can tune the VCO. This is a voltage that is creating this waveform that we're hearing. All right, so this is all the way left and all the way right, okay? That's the tuning. So that's going to affect the pitch of the voltage that you're hearing. So we're going to put that right back in the center. All right. This next knob is called the metalizer. Then we have the pulse width knob, sync 2/1, and then these two knobs here, which are probably the most important knobs in the section. This is where you determine what type of waveform this keyboard is generating. And it is constantly generating 3. All right, so depending on these knobs, how they're turned is what you're going to hear, okay? So they have the sawtooth, the triangle, and the square, all right? So in order, this first one is a sawtooth, then the triangle, and then you're going to skip this one. This one right here is the square. This one here is called sigma, and that stands for the sum, okay? So if you put this knob here on sigma, you're going to hear, if the second knob is turned all the way to the left, you're going to hear the sawtooth wave. Listen to that. Okay? If you turn it to the right, you're going to start to hear the triangle. That's the triangle waveform. All right, and then back over here is the sawtooth. And if you put it in the middle, you hear a combination of both of those waveforms. All right, in order to hear the sawtooth or the triangle, this third knob has to be turned to sum. And now what that means is you're hearing the sum of whatever this knob is outputting, whether it's fully sawtooth or fully triangle or a combination of the two, okay? So now if you want to hear the square wave, you're going to turn this third knob all the way to the right, okay? Let's listen. Okay, so you see now, because we're not on sigma, it's not giving us the sum of the second knob, okay? If it's on the square wave, then this knob here is not going to do anything at all to the sound. So that's the square wave that you're hearing now. Okay, cool, got that. So now you've learned how to make the sawtooth wave, the triangle wave, and the square wave. All right, so if you want to hear a combination of just the saw and the triangle, you'll put it on sigma, and then you can arrange this knob anywhere inside of this to hear a combination of the saw and the triangle. But if you want to hear a combination of all 3 of the waveforms, you're going to not be all the way over on square, but you're going to put it right in the middle. And now you get to hear a combination of all 3 waves at once. That is the square wave and the sawtooth. This is the square wave and the triangle. And this is the square wave, triangle, and sawtooth. Okay. All right, pretty easy. It took me a little bit to really understand kind of how that was working, but now I think I've got it, and I hope you guys do too. If you don't, leave a comment down below, and I'll get that question answered as soon as possible. All right, so now we can start to incorporate some of these other knobs, and we're not going to talk about the sync knob for a while. That's going to come quite a bit later down the line as far as how stuff is arranged. We're not going to go there yet. All right, so the pulse width. This pulse width knob is gonna basically allow you to manipulate the width of the square wave, okay? So if we go back to square, all right, now if we begin to turn this pulse width, it's going to start to make the width of the pulse for the square, it's going to start shrinking it. So when it's over to the left, that width is wide, and as it goes to the right, it's gonna shrink to the point to where it'll become non-existent. Listen. And all the way to the right is when it becomes non-existent. Okay, so of course we want to hear that a little bit. Really narrow. And it's widening up, widening. Got it, okay. And now the last knob in this section in VCO1 is the metalizer, okay? In order to hear the metalizer, we're going to be in, I think, the triangle. Let's listen. All right, so that metalizer, it adds some harmonics and some edginess, is what the manual calls it, to that triangle wave. Now, there is a way for you to have the metalizer affect the other waves as well, but it's a setting that you have to get into in here, and we're gonna talk about that quite a bit later. We're just gonna start simple now and kind of work our way up to when things get more complex, okay? So if you look, VCO1 and VCO2 are pretty similar. They both have a tuning knob. They both have a pulse width knob. They both have a way to select whether we're listening to the sawtooth, the triangle, the square, or a combination of the three in some form or factor. Okay, and then this one, the VCO1 has a sync 2-to-1, and VCO2 has a FM 2-to-1. So we're gonna talk about those two quite a bit later. So here's this last knob that we're gonna talk about in this section today, and this is the sub oscillator. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna take the fundamental waveform for VCO2 and it's gonna drop it down an octave and create a sub. So let's listen to what that sounds like. So I'm gonna turn off VCO1 all the way off. So now we're gonna bring VCO2 in. I'm gonna turn the sub all the way off first. Let's listen to it. This is VCO2. Can you guys guess, based on how the knobs look, what kind of waveform this is? I'll give you a few seconds to figure it out. Yes, it is a saw wave because the knob is pointing at the saw and we have the second knob pointing at the sigma, so it's giving us the sum of what this knob is outputting. So yes, it's a sawtooth wave. Okay, so as we begin to turn this sub on, it's going to start to introduce sub frequencies of this fundamental waveform an octave down from this pitch. So here's the pitch we're listening to. We'll put it right in the middle, and we're gonna start to introduce a little bit of the sub. Hear it? Now, the further to the right we get, it's going to start to take the fundamental waveform away, and you're gonna only hear the sub once it gets all the way to the right, all right? Now it's just the sub frequency of VCO2. This is a mixture of them. This is just the fundamental waveform, the sawtooth. And this is just the sub. And you could listen to this. We're going to change the tune of it. So you can get really low with your sub frequency, or you can get really high with it. All right, really easy once you kind of get the hang of it. You may have to watch this section a couple times before you really catch what it's doing, but pretty simple once you get to really thinking about it. All right, so that is VCO2 and VCO1. They're very similar, but they do have some differences, okay? I'm gonna initialize the sound again so we can start back from scratch. VCO1 is completely off, VCO2 is completely off. And now we just have this noise, noise generator. And here's that noise. Let's see. So there's a knob here that says the noise color, okay? So that is just gonna change the tonality or the color of the noise that you're introducing to your sound. Okay. All right, got that. So the last thing we're going to talk about now is just the mixer section, and it's just the same thing that you guys have been used to forever. It's just the way you mix your two sounds together. We're going to decide how much of VCO1 we want and decide how much of VCO2 we want. So let's just make a standard, let's go with a triangle wave, okay, with just a little bit of metalizer in it. So we're going to go sigma, triangle wave, and we're going to put a little bit of the, let's turn the noise off. I'm going to turn VCO1 up so we can hear what we're doing with the mixer right here. And we're going to put just a little bit of the metalizer in there. Okay, now we're going to add a square wave with VCO2. And let's introduce a little bit of a sub to it. All right, let's pitch VCO1 down just a little bit to make a little bit of a rub. Now let's just add a little bit of noise to it. All right, that's it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That is section 1 of this new series we're doing on the Arturia Polybrute 12. We just covered VCO1, VCO2, the mixer section, and the noise generator. Next video, we're going to start talking about the filter. We have 2 filters here, and we're going to introduce those and talk about what they do and how we can use those to shape great sounds later. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget, click the like button, share it somewhere on your social media pages. Leave a comment if you have a question, if this is something that you're interested in, or if you have a question about something I said, or if you're really excited about this series, let me know down in the comment section. And oh yeah, hit the notification bell so you guys can stay up to date with when new videos are posted to the page. All right, like I always say, if you guys are interested in a keyboard like this, hit my link in the bottom. It goes to one of my affiliate pages, and those type of support options really help to push the page and allow me to continue to make great content like this for you guys. So take care. See you on the next one. Later.